Hey guys, so this has been a work in progress for a few months now, so I'll just get to it. Before we start, of course, please make sure you've seen Chapter 1, Night of Peace, so you know what's actually going on. But apart from that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Young Cynics. If you enjoy this, please make sure you tweet it at Lucasfilm and Disney. So here's Chapter 2 of my Star Wars trilogy with Star Wars: Storms of Vengeance. We pan down to a lush, peaceful forest planet, Urillo, as we see a ship speeding down. Inside, we see characters all standing militant in formation. We see a character with her visor down. She walks up to one of the troopers. "Ready for your first mission, Commander?" asks the trooper. He looks at her, and then forward, not replying. We also see another trooper behind her, who she looks at. He nods his head slightly. We go down to see a peaceful town of civilians, panning across to reveal that they are at the base of a large mountain. They hear a whirring from above, and we see a man who quickly looks up. "Oh God. They're here!" He screams, quickly beginning to sprint as the ship comes into sight. We see people panicking and going into their houses. The man runs into a hut and asks his wife, "Where?" She points over to an open cradle with a baby. "There is no more room in the roof," she exclaims, and runs over and picks up the baby and places it in a small bag. He tells her to run and hide the child. The ship touches down. An elder and two others are with him. The door of the ship opens, and out walks the troopers, followed by the main one, a red stripe over his shoulder. "You shouldn't be here," says the elder. The commander looks around and then at him.
"We've come for the Kyber. Hand it over and there will be no problems."
"We will not hand over the means of our livelihoods, our sacred mineral to you. You will not intimidate us."
"Suit yourself. Round them up!"
We see the troopers go into each house with lightsabers. However, none of them have clean blades, all looking like Kylo Ren's, herding the people of the town into the center. We see the wife and husband hiding in a closet, two troopers walking in and immediately sensing them, pulling them out and into the square. They're in robes. However, the baby is still sleeping. As they are herded into the center, we see any infants or toddlers stripped from their parents. One of the troopers looks at another one, the same two from earlier, a concerning notion. There are about 6 children taken to the ship, and the commander says,
"Do not worry. They will serve the Republic well."
He turns to the elder,
Now, the Kyber.
igniting his saber only inches from his face. He points to a cave where the commander looks over. He enters the base of the mountain into a temple of shining minerals. He looks at it in wonder. He exits and heads back to the crowd. He picks and talks to 3 of his men, who quickly turn to the crowd, shooting at them. However, none of the people fall. We see the father from before holding out his hand, stopping multiple blaster bolts with the force, the commander lifting his mask. The man walks over. Kaleo, and a wife. He approaches her, bearing over her shoulder. "You are beautiful. Tell me, did you know of his talent?" She looks terrified. You know, love used to be forbidden in the Jedi Order. I would have thought a man such as yourself would have been more loyal to your religion. He takes another step to him. You're just a disgrace. Kaleo turns around. Get away from my wife! As you wish, he utters, turning straight into Kaleo, the saber piercing through him. His wife screams and then pulls out a crystal of her own, stabbing the commander with it. He yells in pain before putting a saber through her. She falls quickly, while the commander stumbles away. Kill them all! He screams. Kaleo is on the ground as all of the villagers fall around him. The two troopers previously focused on look shocked. There is a silence and then a crying from his house. The commander smiles and tells his men, "Bring the child to me." He looks down on Kaleo, crawling and bleeding from the mouth. He leans down to talk to him. Thank you. Now this petty village has given us a wealthy amount of Kaiba, and the offspring of Master Kaleo's storm. He then strikes Kaleo with a definitive blow. We hard cut to the silhouette of a woman, panning around to see Cole Talos, about to address the Senate. She addresses how the sacrifice of Aelor Carver helped defeat the Sith and destroy the insurgent weaponry base on Ceres. She asks for the Senate to give powers for the Jedi to make decisions on their own accord, dispelling with the Jedi Restrainment Act. Then Chancellor Holwick interrupts, telling the Senate that the actions of Cade at the end of Night of Peace shows what will happen if the Jedi are given absolute power. The potential resources and information left at the Ceres base were destroyed, and could have given a possible upper hand to the Republic against the insurgents. He reminds her of the original incident causing this act, and how she couldn't control her own, and he will never risk it again. Instead opting to increase the budget of the Galactic Peace Corps, sending out more troops to the outlying planets, rather than the reckless Jedi. The Senate of course vote in favour of Holwick, and Talos is furious. She exits and goes into her room and sits down. We reveal that Cade Aster is in the room with her. Any news on Diana? Last thing I heard, she was near Barasmus. Cade is still leaning in the room, looking down at his feet. Talos turns around. She sees Cade looking dejected. It's not your fault. You did the right thing. You had to go after them. You saved Diana. You defeated a Sith and took out their weapons base. And then I got our best man killed and jeopardized our cause. No. Cade, we can fight this. There are others who can help us. But you're my best right now. She places a golden embroidered badge on his chest with A1 written on it. Make him proud, she tells him. You're to head to Barasmus tonight. Find her. Help her. Bring her home. Cade then exits the room, as we linger on Talos as her smile fades. Cade approaches a hangar where the Strix is held, when from around the corner comes Chancellor Holwick. Master Aster, congratulations on your promotion. I know you are going to help your friend, but I have spoken to Talos, and you will be accompanied on your mission by my own representative, Blake Devitt. Blake is similar in frame to Cade. He walks up to him and smirks. It'll be an honor, Master. He walks off and towards the ship. Holwick smiling at him. Cade begrudgingly returns a smile. Cade enters the Strix. J3T quickly approaches Cade, alarmed that Blake is sitting in the cockpit.
He does not have the proper authorization to be here.
You know how to fly this thing. Second-year graduate from the Republic Flight Academy. Graduated with honors. Cade looks at J3T and shrugs his shoulders.
You can't be serious.
J3, I'll make sure he doesn't crash you, okay? J3 touches the side of the ship.
I'm sorry, darling.
Blake puts in the coordinates for Barasmus, and J3T takes his place in his pod. The three are ready and head off in the Strix. We see Cole watching the ship take off. She knows that the dark side is growing stronger. We see the Strix speeding through hyperspace. Cade and Blake talk. So, who's the girl? Diana Mercia. She was part of my squadron. Only we survived. Then she ran off, looking for her sister. Kane looks at him with a smile. She must be pretty special to do all of this. Cade immediately exits the cockpit as Blake grins. However, the ship soon pulls out of hyperspace well ahead of its scheduled release. What are you doing? I'm starving. Besides, this is the first time in months Holwick doesn't know my exact location. And I'ma enjoy this. This is Jedi business. And we're gonna eat. Or I can tell him that you acted on your own accord to make this unsanctioned stop. Blackmail won't work on a Jedi. Oh yeah? Yeah, because I can reach inside your mind. I can make you forget what you had for breakfast. I don't eat breakfast, bud. Watch it. Is that a threat? Cade sighs and concedes. Make it quick. Now we're talking. Do as I say and we'll be fine, Grand Master. They drop out of hyperspace and we see a large space station, Losorno, surrounded by a shield as they head in. Cade and Blake exit as they head to a bar. Sitting down, a waiter comes up. Anything for you gentlemen this evening? One Wampa steak, a Teresian ale, and let's chuck in a side of blue milk pancakes. And for you, sir? I'll be fine. Come on, man, live a little. You don't always have to be the wise stoic Jedi. Some situations require a steady hand. And right now, I'm using the Jedi tactic of restraint. Blake smiles at him. Alright. We cut to Blake finishing his meal. They get up and Blake makes Cade pay for the meal. Just as they are walking out, they hear a loud bellowing voice. Blake Devitt! Shit. He turns around and sees a large male Twi'lek standing there. Hi Tika, how was prison? Fantastic. Escaped 14 years after you locked me up. 2 other aliens appear beside him. But now I'm out. You're gonna pay. Cade pulls out his saber and stands in front of Blake. Stand back. Tika pulls out a large gun and starts raining fire down on the two as they sprint out, grabbing the first speeder they see and taking off. Tika taking pursuit. So you locked those guys up? Not exactly. Then why are they after us? Let's just say I'm the reason they were in jail. We get a fun, quick-paced speeder chase through the streets of Losorno before eventually nearing the Strix. Blake driving it onto the ship as J3 takes off into hyperspace. What the hell was that? Alright. Let me explain. I haven't always been Mr. Perfect like you. We've all got past, right? Must have been a pretty eventful one if those guys were after us trying to kill us. Okay, I ran with his crew when I was younger. We were pulling a heist. Long story short, I screwed up and fled, and left them to be captured. Please don't tell Holwick. You're fine. But I hope the steak was worth it. We cut to a ship touching down on the dark, mountainous terrain. Out comes a cloaked figure, approaching a small facility that is heavily guarded. The figure then sneaks her way into the main control room of the facility, revealing herself to be Deanna, force pushing and throwing characters around. There is a main chief in charge of the base, which is revealed to be a prison for Republic allies as well as an insurgent coding facility, which is used to heavily encrypt insurgent transmissions. She asks where Zara is and he tells her he has no idea, before forcing him to tell her that they received a message that the insurgent commander's associate will be heading to Karabos to kill a man by the name of William Jennings. She then forces him to open up all of the cells, freeing the Republic prisoners. As they are making a run for it, she is confronted by a group of guards who she fights off. Eventually, one of the guards detonating a bomb, blowing up the room, causing Deanna to go flying out. One of the guards comes out to confront her, when he is shot down by what is the Strix. Cade jumps out, and he and Deanna look at each other in the rain, as the prisoners run to a hijacked cruiser and take off. I could have taken him. He smiles at her and she laughs. She walks up to him and they embrace. She touches the gold crest on his uniform. Gold leader, huh? Yeah, well, the first option ran off, so I'm just a stand-in. No, it suits you. Cade chuckles. Karabos. Huh? She's there. Cade looks concerned and they make their way to the Strix. J3 is excited to see her and rushes to her. Blake also stands up and greets her. There is an awkward interaction between the three, and then they head off for Karabos. Deanna is taking a look at the Strix, fiddling with the wires. Cade stands beside her. You alright? She turns and looks at him. She nods before going back, but then grabs him and they go into a separate room. I keep getting visions of her, Cade. Of Zara. They're terrible. She's doing the bidding of who they call Veritia. I met him on Naviria, the insurgent commander, but I can't find where she is. But there is good in her, Cade. I feel the regret and the pain. If we can turn her, we can stop the insurgents' attack before it starts. Cade looks at her. Then that's what we're gonna do. You have my word. He kisses her hands he is holding. The two have a gaze at each other and it looks like they're gonna lean in, when Blake bursts in the door. We're here, Karabos, get ready. He looks at the two disapprovingly. Deanna makes her way out of the room slightly embarrassed, while Blake stands there smiling at Cade. I thought that was forbidden for a Jedi. What was, trying to act as if nothing had happened. Blake smirks and leaves the room. However, J3T is behind him and he and Cade look at each other for a bit. What are you looking at? J3T slowly moves out of sight. We cut to Karabos, a sleazy looking city surrounded by a moat with rivers offshooting in every direction. The Strix drops down into the city. They all get out. However, we see an unknown figure approaching the Strix. Deanna stops them. Okay, Zara is somewhere in this city. Be on the lookout. Cade, use the force if you have to. She sighs as she looks out over the city. Look at this place. It's probably crawling with insurgents. I don't mind it at all, says Blake. Scumbags and corruption. Doesn't get much better than this. The three take off and arrive at a local police station. Cade goes to try and get the information, but the police doesn't allow Jedi to get information due to the Restrainment Act. So Blake presents his badge and they get the information, but there is no information on a William Jennings. But then Deanna falls to the ground, getting a horrid vision of Zara in a dark nightclub. Deanna quickly looks around and she sees a gold logo, and then across town to see the Harton Casino. She's there. Blake commandeers one of the police crafts and they head across to the casino, going inside the front but need to be disguised, modifying J3T as a staff droid. We get a scene where they are in the casino looking frantically for Zara, eventually Blake ending up in the nightclub area. However, being who he is easily distracted. A figure approaches, the same one who was approaching the Strix before. However, Blake spotting a blaster and taking out the spy with a swift punch, before escorting it out pretending that it's drunk. He apprehends the insurgent spy, and he takes him to the rooftop to interrogate the spy. He threatens him, and the spy tells him that they were looking for a man named Jennings, finding out that he was on Urillo and was meant to meet Zara. But then Zara appears behind him, lightsaber drawn. Blake calls for Deanna and Cade, and they set off to help him. He threatens to shoot the spy, but Zara just force pushes him off the roof. We see a fight between Zara and Blake where Blake is on the ropes before the Cade and Deanna come to the rescue. They have a brief duel. However, Zara makes quick work of the two before she jumps off the roof into a waiting ship, which blasts at them, the three just escaping. Zara is on the ship where she receives a transmission from a furious insurgent commander. He tells her that he will come to Urillo, saying that her emotions for her sister have made her judgment clouded. She agrees and looks extremely uneasy about the whole ordeal. Meanwhile, the four get back on the Strix and make a connection with Talis, telling her that they have gone to Urillo and that Zara was looking for a man named William Jennings. She tells him that she will be heading over immediately. We then cut to Naviria, the large case coming out of the lava pit, and it's the insurgent commander. He takes out a kyber crystal from a red liquid which is next to the bugs from the first film. He gets on a large ship which takes off from Naviria, revealing an even larger collection of ships on Naviria than previously seen. At that moment, we see Talis get on her ship, this time wearing darker clothing instead of her usual white robes, her ship taking off for Urillo. Zara is on her ship. She is in the back area looking concerned, closing her eyes, and we see Deanna in the Strix as well. Deanna waking up suddenly. Why are you doing this? I enjoy our little chats. Not like this. Speak to me in person. He'd know. Then join us, and we can defeat him. You don't know the power he possesses. A tear rolling down Zara's eye. You know I wasn't going to fire on you at Ceres. I was escaping. Then he took control of my body. He used me as a puppet, indicating that the commander is able to take control of other people through the Force. At that moment, Cade opens the door to check on her. You okay? Tears are rolling down Deanna's cheeks. Cade comforting her. He's got control of her. I don't know if I can stop her this time. We can. Together. Holding her tightly. We see the Strix slowly looking for a place to drop on Urillo, before finding a small patch free of trees, which they touch down on, and the three sit down to eat, gathered around a fire. The three start to argue about the Jedi Restrainment Act. Blake calling them reckless, citing almost being killed on Karabos and the confrontation on Ceres from Night of Peace, before they are confronted by a group of insurgents. They are about to attack when a figure appears, wielding a saber, throwing it at all of the insurgents, before threatening the four. Who are you? What do you want? Jedi from the Republic. Why are you here? The figure is an older man with a beard approaching Cade with his saber drawn. We're looking for a man named William Jennings. To kill him? To save him? We're with Coltalis. The man's expression quickly turns from anger to shock as he backs away. You're Jennings? Rook. What? Jennings is made up to keep me safe. William Rook is my name. Why is a Jedi out here? Follow me. He leads them down a dark hole into the ground, panning up revealing a large mountain. As they go down the tunnel, they find a large cave revealing the Kyber cave from the start of the film. I've been protecting this. Why? The Jedi could have used this. Rook scoffs. The Jedi. I once thought the same way you did. What happened? We cut to them walking to where we see the ruins of an old town. Small wrecked huts with plantations growing out of them. It was my first mission. Squadron Alpha 1, sent to pillage a town who had, what we'd been told, been hoarding kyber crystals, preparing an attack. It came down. Our leaders took their children, lumped them into a ship. Everything we believed was a lie. And they just killed the rest. One of the ones they killed was a Jedi. Talos and I turned on them and decided to flee. Flashing back to the original event just after, seeing Talos and Rook blowing up ships. She escaped while I fought off the others. Only one of them got away. The commander. All he took was the Jedi's child. And that's where the insurgents were born. This place has too much power. The dark side is strong here and I've guarded it for 20 years. You know Talos? I loved her. We cut to the large vessel that the insurgent commander is on. We see then Zara's ship come down and she gets out, heading to his quarters. She walks into a misty and dark room. At the end we see the commander. He stands up. Her face is twitching with nerves. He walks over to see her and then past. His back turned to her. He is unmasked, but we can't see his face. Zara starts to grasp at her neck, feeling he is force choking her. She drops to the ground. You fool! How am I meant to trust you? You're unbalanced. Every time I send you to finish someone, your sister gets there first. You're an embarrassment, just like your father was. She has backup, Asta, and now a third one as well. Let me deal with them. He then looks up. Talos. We cut to Cole, who is approaching Yurillo. She senses something and is shocked, and she touches down, getting out of her ship, all clad in her gear. She walks to Cade and Deanna, who all hug each other for the first time in months. They bring her over, introducing her to William. Hey. She looks shocked and runs to him. They embrace. She holds his face, looking at him, crying as she does so. You're alive! Yes. He takes her into the tunnels and shows her the cave. Later, Cade and Deanna sit down around the fire and talk to her about who he is. He was my best friend. We were going to be married shortly after. For our last mission, we went with Alpha 1, and then we discovered that the Jedi Order had been slaughtering innocent people, covering it up. They killed... She pauses and looks at Deanna, an ex-Jedi. He fended off the commander, and he shot my hand, gesturing to her glove. And we escaped in a ship. I came back to Coruscant, told them what had happened, and the Order was almost completely eradicated. I owed it to him to rebuild it. At that moment, a large ship appears from above, and a smaller shuttle comes down. We see Blake get out his radio and types in a message as the shuttle comes down, escorted by smaller ships as well. The door opens and we see the commander walk out with Zara following. He is staring at Cole, his concentration not broken. We see a close-up of his eyes, shifting to William.
Still alive. Perhaps solitude is a greater punishment after all. Look what you've become. A shell of your former self.
Is that why you wear the mask? Cole steps forward. Please, whatever your reason, it's with me.
You left me to die. You turned the galaxy against me.
You slaughtered innocents. It was against the Jedi Code. My brother would never do that.
Your brother is dead. You killed him.
Cade and Deanna both draw their sabers as the fire is extinguished, the sun starting to rise over Yurillo. He looks over at Deanna.
Did she tell you what happened to your parents? She was there the day that it happened. She watched them die. Then she decided to save you and let the others die. If it wasn't for me, your sister would be dead. I gave her salvation and a purpose while your master fled like a coward.
Deanna looks at Cole.
That's right. Your precious master watched as I murdered your traitorous father, Kaleo Storm.
Deanna is shocked, however Zara is possessed, her eyes fixated into the middle distance. Deanna lunges at the commander but is stopped in midair. He raises her and starts to turn the lightsaber towards her, Cole pushing Deanna away, and then the hovering fighters start to blast the area. Cade, Deanna and Blake run in one direction while Cole and William take off, Arthur following them, igniting his saber. One of the fighters gets shot down and we see a squad of Republic fighters emerge from hyperspace as they start to attack the commander's ship. Blake tells them that he requested them before hopping into the Strix before we get a dogfight over Yurillo. Meanwhile, Cade and Deanna are confronted by Zara, who looks worse for wear. He murdered our parents. They deserved it. They only chose to save you. If it wasn't for him, I'd be dead. You know that's not true. I feel it. Cade tells Deanna to help Cole and Will. Then, Zara and Cade begin to duel. We cut to Blake and J3 in the Strix, and we see how good the Strix is in combat rather than just a chase, taking out multiple insurgent fighters, before we go back down to see Cole and William running away before they are confronted by Arthur. She reaches out to grab his mask, and we reveal that Arthur has scars over his face. "They don't heal, do they?" says Will. He turns to Cole. "Run. I'll hold him off." "No, not this time. I'm standing my ground." Cole pulls out her lightsaber. A golden blade appears. Narcissism at its finest. Cole, William, and Arthur start to duel, the old rivals dealing in swift attacks, separated with time, constantly trading insults. Meanwhile, the dogfight continues up in the skies, the morning sun illuminating the battle. Deanna sprinting to help Cole and William. Zara and Cade continuing to fight, Zara gaining a massive upper hand, her rage on full display, wailing away, her eyes a full yellow tinge. At one moment, Cade jumps down the hole to the Kyber cave, and hides for a while, before attacking Zara. However, Zara uses the Force to shift large amounts of earth, which cause the cave to start crumbling around them. Cade sprints out, however Zara is not shown getting out. As he exits the crumbling mountain, a massive ship emerges from hyperspace and starts gunning down Republic fighters. We see inside the ship soldiers using the liquid from the Kyber insects in their laser cannons. Blake and J3 attempting to fly away from it as the laser goes through other Republic ships like butter. Meanwhile, Arthur wounds Cole. She falls to the ground, leaving just William, who despite his best efforts, is worn down by Arthur. A valiant effort, but ultimately worthless. He drives his saber through William, skewering him right in front of Cole, his vision shifting towards his sister. She tries to crawl away, however, too slowly. However, Deanna is shown in the background lunging towards him, however stopped inches away. Pathetic. You could have joined me, but instead you chose this traitorous deceptionist. He starts to choke her slowly. Cole is unable to do anything. Move, and I'll kill her. Cade is running towards Arthur and also stopped in his tracks. Deanna going pale and her eyes going red. However, Zara suddenly emerges and without hesitation slices Arthur's left arm clean off, yelling in pain as he falls. Cole collapsing, so too Cade. However, Deanna is kneeling, facing down. Zara standing there panting over Arthur. As he looks at her in shock, Deanna gets up and heads over to Zara. The two looking at each other deep into the other's eyes, without saying anything. Cade regaining his strength. "Deanna," he gasps. Zara heads to the shuttle ship which has touched down. She radios to the ships. Call off the troops. Head back to base. The massive ship rotating around before returning to Naviria. Deanna and Cade stare at each other. Both Cole and Arthur are on the ground. Arthur crawling slowly as Zara takes his saber. "I'm sorry," Deanna whispers, before she kisses Cade. "For what?" She has tears pouring down her cheeks. She ignites the blade into his hip. Cade in shock slowly falls to the ground. Deanna slowly walking off and joining Zara in the distance, looking back at Cade before she goes into the shuttle and the sisters take off. Blake and J3 touch down in the Strix by the battle as the remaining Republic ships take off. Cole rushes over to help Cade. She tries to seal the wound with her saber and they load him onto the ship, Cole barely making it as well. Arthur is lying on the ground dying from blood loss. However, his sister gets off the ship and loads him onto the Strix as well, putting him into a deep sleep. "You never told us how to do that," Cade says. Cole looks deeply ashamed. "Thought it would keep you safe." "Any big secret about my parents?" Cole looks at him. "They were killed," wiping her tears away. "Did he do it?" "Yes." Cade rolls back to sleep as Cole watches on her brother and her child as she hopelessly contemplates the future. We cut back to Naviria as the ship touches down. Zara and Deanna exit. One of the generals looks shocked. "Where is Commander Veriter?" "Dead. Commence preparations for invasion." They head into a large building, almost castle-like. They enter a room at the top spire. Zara sits down and looks at Deanna. "Did you love him?" Deanna stares at her. "You know the answer." "Deanna, no one will ever deceive us again. No one will take advantage of us again. From now on, we will be the point of authority in the galaxy. For our parents." Zara exits the room as Deanna looks out the window, expressionless. The Strix touches down on Coruscant at dusk. All that greets them is a medical team and Chancellor Holwick. Blake talks to him and Holwick is shocked, and he makes his way into the ship. Get medical assistance for Master Talus, and young Cade here, and take him to the cell. We cut to a few days later. We see Cole walk into a room, 20 Jedi standing guard outside a small cell. Give us a moment. Arthur is looking at the ground. Do you think they could get me a window? No. Fair enough. I always admired how blunt you were. At least one of us admired something about the other. He has a small smile. Deanna joined Zara. Only one can assume that they have joined forces to take over your old armada. The Storm Sisters. He chuckles slightly. Why did you do it? He looks up at her. Take the children, murder the families. Necessary sacrifices for security. Without them, you know you wouldn't have been able to create quite this persona for yourself. My sister. Mother of the Jedi. How do you think they'd feel if they knew the truth? What you been hiding from them? That young boy Asta, he knows something more, doesn't he? He's like the son you never had. The son you didn't want me to have. The last thing I wanted was to see my little sister throwing away our whole life. Everything we were made for. Everything we were meant to do. And you throw it away for what? Love? A family? No. For purpose. If you lay a finger on any of my children, I will destroy you, Arthur. Holwick may be forgiving, but I am not. Good evening. She walks off. Arthur watches her. He doesn't say a word, glaring at her as the lights go out. Cade wakes up in hospital, his wound heavily bandaged. Blake and J3 walk in. Hey man, how are you holding up? Not bad. You? Well, I didn't have some maniac swinging a glow stick at me, so I'm fine. Hey, I'm sorry what I said about you guys being reckless. If reckless means being brave as hell, then that's exactly what you are. Don't be sorry. You helped me every step, and I did almost get you killed a couple times. Cade laughs and they shake hands. Get better, Asta. I'll see you soon. Cade smiles as Blake leaves. He then hobbles out to the balcony, Cole emerging. Hey, you alright? Cade looks at her. They'll be coming here. I know it. He pulls out Aelor's old badge. He'd be proud of you. Cole holding his hand. And we're going to be ready for them. We cut back to Naviria. Deanna is seated in a chair, the room dark, lit by the strange planet's dusk. An insurgent general entering the room. They're ready for you, milady. She gets up and heads out onto a large balcony, overlooking thousands of insurgent ships, taking her spot next to Zara. Both draped in black robes, soldiers by the thousands below them. The sisters look out over the Navirian sunset, over the crowds. Zara taking Deanna's hand, and she raises it as the crowd erupts and the credits begin. So thank you so much guys for watching. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to The Young Cynics. If you liked it, please make sure, of course, to tweet it at Lucasfilm and Disney and tell me what you thought. I hope to have Chapter 3 out by Christmas in place of a new film. So until next time guys, thank you and bye.